Good afternoon and welcome to What's Up Kansas City. And today we're paying tribute to Reverend Nelson Fuzzy Thompson. And we have here, which is a pretty special deal. I got my first cousin here, Alex Ellison, and who was a lifelong friend of the Reverend Nelson Fuzzy Thompson and a traveling partner, a confidant. And so we're going to turn it over to Mr. Ellison and tell us a little bit about Fuzzy.
Well, you know what? There's been a lot of accolades and praise given to Fuzzy since his passing, rightfully so. Fuzzy and I had actually been friends since 1961 when his family moved from Kansas City, Kansas to Missouri. And just by coincidence, he attended Central High School, and I was also at Central at that time. You know, one of the funny things about Fuzzy, and he tells this story all the time, is that when he first saw me in the halls walking around, he thought I was a teacher. And I said, come on, Reverend, quit telling that story. But that's Fuzzy. You know, Fuzzy really was kind of like a comedian if you were around him enough time. And I certainly was around him and Doc Watson and Monty because we were all, quote unquote, kind of like road dogs in terms of going to the different sporting events, NBA All-Star games, NBA Finals, NFL football games. I mean, and our travels in that regard really started when I was on the Sports Authority in the mid-'80s. I was fortunate enough to be able to obtain some tickets through Bob Watcher, who was the operations manager of the sports complex, contacted his counterpart out in Seattle. And that's where it all started with us going to Seattle. The old Chicago Stadium where Jordan won the dunk contest against Dominique. You know, I think there was no home cooking there. But we've been to the world's greatest arena, Madison Square Garden. We've been to Miami down there for the football game, the Dolphins and the Raiders. You know, we were all kind of, I guess, Raiders in a sense. And been out there in Oakland several times to see the Raiders and the Chiefs. L.A. on 2 occasions for All-Star games. Las Vegas. I mean, Denver. And it got to the point where it was more than just going out there or these various cities for the sporting event. It was camaraderie because we had several friends, one being Johnny Battle, who lives in San Antonio, J.B. Hill, who lives out in L.A. area, Red, or William Starks, they call him Redbone, who lives in Denver. We would all meet up at these various events, and you know, because it got to the point where going to the All-Star game, it wasn't about that anymore. Plus, they made it cost prohibitive for us little guys, but it was just getting together and having some fun, sharing some memories, and you know, the memories that I've had over the years with Fuzzy, I mean, there's so many, it's really kind of difficult to talk about. But one thing that the Reverend would always say when he called, he said, come on, bro, this is the Reverend, take care of me. You know, it didn't matter. I mean, it didn't matter if I was already home and he wanted me to do something for him. I always tried to accommodate him. I mean, even to the point where we went to the Congressional Black Caucus when Cleaver was the chair, and his health had gotten kind of bad, and had to really be transported around by a wheelchair. And you can imagine, you know, if you stand in a hotel and convention center, maybe a couple of blocks, 3 blocks away, and having to wheel somebody to the convention center, had the opportunity to take him to see the King Memorial. So I mean, you know, we did a lot together, and if there's any constellation in his passing on this past Sunday, I did have a chance to visit with him on that Friday prior to him going on home. And I think he was ready because, you know, you hate to see somebody health-wise in the condition that he was in because he had been such a vibrant individual. And I mean, full of life, you know, happy-go-lucky type of guy. And to see him in the condition that he was in, it hurt me, and it was very difficult to go visit him at times, but I just felt obligated to do so because our friendship you're talking about a friendship over 50 years. And oftentimes you can't say that you've had friends for 50 years, true friends. I mean, that would help each other. I mean, Fuzzy and Cheryl never had any children, but they had adopted all of our children. I'm talking about Shelby and Lil Herman, Monica, Aaron and Audrey, and never failed to attend college graduations for any of those, and was, kind of like a mentor to all of those kids. I mean, even to the point where when he needed the kidney transplant, Shelby, Herman's daughter, was the one who provided him with the kidney. So that, I mean, that's saying a lot, and it tells you about how close our friendship was over the years. And we all are going to miss it. And we have talked about the holiday friend. Monty and I were just talking the other day about how we were just kind of sitting around and saying, well, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And somebody said, well, let's have a party. And then that's how it all started with the holiday friends. It started out there in Lakewood, where Herman resides, and then it got to the point where we had to move it to larger venues. I mean, we've had it at the Adams Mark, the old Adams Mark, the old Holiday Inn with the revolving top, and the last year's giving the party, it was held at the Marriott downtown. We're talking about 30 years of giving a party, and everybody looked forward to that, and it was considered within the African American community as the social event of the year. At its peak, we would have 1,000 people attend that party on an annual basis, and a lot of times, individuals who receive invitations would call and say, well, can we bring so and so and so and so? This person's going to be in town during the holiday. They said, bring them on. That's what it's all about, for us to have a good time and celebrate. And what else can I say about it?
Well, on that note, to talk about celebrate, there's somewhere in the Bible it talks about the steps of a good man and a woman are prepared by the Lord. Why don't you close out with that, and what does that mean to you? The steps of a good man and woman are prepared by the Lord.
Well, you know what? I'll put it in this perspective. Fuzzy started out teaching school, and I guess it was pretty tough. He was at Central High School, and teaching in the urban core in any high school is not easy, and some are a little tougher than others. But after that experience at Central High School, and I don't know if that was what I guess triggered him or his calling to the ministry, and that in itself turned out to be a blessing, because after he matriculated through that doctorate degree at St. Paul, and then his involvement with SCLC. So I mean, he was about giving back, and that certainly was atypical of Fuzzy. I mean, giving back to the community as a servant of the Lord.
That's good. Alex Ellison, we appreciate you stopping by here today to pay tribute to Nelson Thompson, and thank you very much. I appreciate it.
It certainly was a pleasure.
All right, we have a distinguished guest with us, Mr. John Moo Webster, and who was a friend of Fuzzy Thompson, and what we're doing is we are paying tribute to Fuzzy, who is a icon in our community, comedian, and a good person.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Right. Why don't you tell us about your relationship with Fuzzy?
I've probably known Fuzzy since 1981.
Okay.
And I met Fuzzy through Reverend Sam Mann. At that time, we were just getting the Black United Front organization up and running. And we brought in Reverend Herbert Daltrey, who was the first national chairperson. And we brought him in to Reverend Mann's church, and Reverend Thompson was there. Now, I already known of him, because we remember when '79 when he went to Iran. Right. He was part of that delegation that went to provide to minister to the hostages during the Christmas holiday season in 1979. And I saw him on TV, and I said, well, who is this brother? So when I got to Kansas City in 1980, Lloyd Daniel told me, oh yeah, that was Reverend Fuzzy Thompson. So head of SCLC, Martin Luther King Urban Center, all that. So I was looking forward to meeting him. And when I first met him, he had these big hands,
right.
And he gave you a great handshake, and he used the enthusiasm when he talked to you like he's been knowing you for years. And there hasn't been a single project or movement activity that I've been involved in in Kansas City that Reverend Fuzzy Thompson wasn't in some way connected to. Either he led it, he supported it. A lot of times he put something in place and put your name on it, then he call you up and say, oh yeah, Jamu, I got to put your name down there, put your front in there. Sometimes I call him up and said, Reverend Fuzzy, he said, Jamu, I'm sorry, I should have told you that I put you in there on that, but I got you all in there. I said, okay, I got to go back and tell the people that we in on this. So,
Right.
but he was a big-hearted brother, but fearless when it comes to issues of supporting our people.
Mm-hmm. Diversity.
As far as diversity is concerned,
Yeah.
And when I hear diversity, it means a lot of different things to me. Here's what it means to me. One, it means that you're an established leader and you're bringing in young leadership in. Okay, because at that time, I was young. Certainly he was younger, but he was established, and he's bringing folks like myself in. Diversity in terms of we don't all have to agree on the same political position. You can be integrationist, you can be for self-sufficiency and economic self-determination, and you can be just straight old Democrat or Republican. Say, here's the issue, come on in. So he was good for that in terms of thought. He had strong connections within the white community as well as in the Jewish community, so he could pull all those together as well. So when I think about Fuzzy and I think about diversity, I'm thinking about it from a whole lot of different levels. Getting people engaged so you develop in the next level of leadership, and also connecting folk who may not see that they got things in common, but you can say, hey, we get common around this issue.
Mm-hmm. Now, I remember we were together at Central High School.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun.
That was a lot of fun. At that time, that issue was going on with Central. Central was being built. There were any African Americans involved in terms of labor force and work, and at that time you were head of the Minority Contractors Association. And of course, Fuzzy and all the leadership, we were out there demonstrating, and several folks went to jail. And I never forget, the meeting was going on that night, and you were doing some shuttle diplomacy. You were going from one room to the next, and you said, Jamu, you come with me. We gonna go there. So I was like, oh, I got picked out of the group. So you grabbed me, and we went to the next thing and doing shuttle diplomacy. And of course, Reverend Fuzzy was a big part of all of that.
That's right.
And that was fun. And for me, as a younger guy, and I'm here, and you pulling me along, we going into the meetings and getting part of this, the work, and that too is part of this whole thing of diversity that you talk about. Keeping people that are new engaged and bringing folk up in this thing. So.
Right.
Thank you for that. I don't think I had a chance publicly to say on TV that you led that movement and you brought me in, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. Now, what do you see in the future? I mean, this thing about Fuzzy Thompson, or Jamu Webster, Jim Watts, Sam Mann. Where are we now? Where do you see this legacy of Fuzzy going?
Well, first of all, Fuzzy, he's known for keeping the Martin Luther King celebration, getting it started and getting it going. Mm-hmm. But Fuzzy's legacy was bigger than that. I mean, his legacy had to do with making sure that he supported young people and supported young leadership. So, give you an example. What's going on right now around the country, around this whole thing of police violence? Reverend Fuzzy would be right there trying to identify who is a young leadership that's going to step forward. I was at an event yesterday, and the daughter of Ralph Abernathy was there, and they asked her a similar question about what's next, and she said, back during that time in the 50s, somebody looked for my dad and Dr. King to, he said, my dad chose Dr. King as a young leader to take this movement forward. So she said, we need to be looking for the young leader now that'll move this, that'll become the person that'll be the face of this new movement. And that's the kind of thing Fuzzy would be challenging us to do. Who is that? Where's that young person out there I've seen to get them on over here, bring on to the meeting, let's hear from them about what's going on. And this is people that we need to get behind this young lady, we need to get behind this young man, and get them some support so they can move this movement forward. So that's what I think we ought to be looking for that because they're out there. And then providing the resources and the institutional structure and the support and experience we have behind them so that they can be elevated forward and then lead.
Common goals and common values. That's what we're looking for, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that develops some trust, too.
Oh, yeah.
When people come together with common values and common goals, a lot of trust. You can get a lot of stuff done like that, too.
Oh, yeah.
What about the idea of Fuzzy? You think we ought to name a street after Fuzzy, or how do you think we ought to permanently project this mindset of a Fuzzy Thompson?
Well, the purpose for naming buildings and streets and parks and things after individuals is to keep their name and legacy going.
Right.
If there's anyone who deserves one, he does. You know, just like there are other folks that have made great contributions here and have institutions or buildings named after him. He definitely deserves one. There needs to be a way so that 50 years from now, someone can say, well, oh, who's Fuzzy Thompson, and see the street. And we can say, oh yeah, you know, this is the person that brought and provided these and built these institutions. He led SCLC. He made sure that Martin Luther King celebration took place, led the demonstrations here. He was down there with us when we were at the Kemper Arena to demonstrating Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
He was down there when we did Ray Charles. He was down there when we did the Mighty Clouds of Joy. I mean, it was Reverend Fuzzy Thompson. When we were down at the school board, shutting down school board meetings around African Center Education, Reverend Fuzzy Thompson was there. When it was time to take the mic, he was there. I mean, so you say, hey, that's somebody you ought to follow. That's why we named this street after him.
Well, you know what? We appreciate you coming by today.
I appreciate it.
I hope you enjoyed yourself here at What's Up Kansas City.
Look, all I can say about What's Up at Kansas City is if you want to know what's going on in Kansas City, you need to be watching What's Up Kansas
What's
City.
Up Kansas City. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ajamu Webster, it was a pleasure having him today, and we thank you, Ajamu.
Thank you, Jeff.
I
Appreciate it.
appreciate it, okay? And today we have the two distinguished characters, Bishop Tyndall and Reverend Sam Mann, and you guys were Fuzzy's friends and allies, companions, and prayer partners and all that kind of stuff, because today we are recognizing Fuzzy Thompson, Reverend Fuzzy Nelson Thompson, excuse me, and we're going to talk about some of Fuzzy's stories.
Yeah.
And so why don't you start it off, Bishop? What do you think about Fuzzy? You know, some of the more memorable thoughts you have about Fuzzy.
Man, Fuzzy was, of course, everybody know he was a civil rights leader. He, as long as I've known him, he's been in the struggle, at least trying to make things better for people.
That's right.
As long as I've known him.
That's right.
And I knew him first at the Martin Luther King Center.
Yeah.
In the urban center in Kansas
Yeah.
City, Kansas, where he worked hard.
Right.
And then when Dr. King died, he started doing the Martin Luther King celebration. But he worked over there as the guardian of the Martin Luther King Urban Center.
That's right.
And so we used to go to Kansas City, Kansas, and a lot of people don't know it, but he started Juneteenth.
That's right.
Started Juneteenth in Kansas,
Right.
and Jim, we were down at the Big 11 Lake.
Yes.
Last time I was there, last time he had Juneteenth, there were so many people that the police couldn't handle them all. KPRS had allowed us to broadcast live, so the police came up to the mobile car where we were broadcasting from. They knocked on the door, and we opened the door. They said, "We give you 20 minutes to get out of town." So there were so many people that they couldn't handle them, and they know the people were coming because of the radio.
Right.
And we were having a great time. And you know, ironically, the police followed us to the viaduct.
Really?
They followed us to the viaduct.
Get out of town.
They told us to get out of town.
They didn't even want to meet at the OK Corral.
They told us to get out of town.
Yeah.
Fuzzy was trying to talk to him. Didn't do no good. Said too many people. You don't have a permit for this many people.
Right.
So they were trying to cut. So they knew that the people were coming because of the radio.
Radio, that's right.
And they ran us out of town.
Now, what about you, Reverend Man?
Well, Bishop and I were talking. We've been reminiscing a lot, you know, since Fuzzy passed. And there used to be a group of us in town back in the late '80s and early '90s, after Mac Charles Jones had come to town, and we called ourselves the Fellowship. There were 5 of us, and Mac Jones, Bishop Tyndall, Fuzzy, Bob Stevens, and myself. And we were forever talking. When we get together, we always were talking about the movement. We were talking about church. We were telling lies on each other, and things like that. And one of the funny stories that I remember about him, because the thing about this fellowship and the thing about Fuzzy is the movement, the civil rights movement, and the church were never far from our conversation. It was that we'd either telling some funny story about it or very serious about it. But one time after Mac Jones had just come to town, and they had us on the radio, to television. Chuck Moore had a program with Channel 5.
Yeah, Channel 5.
Had us on the radio, and Fuzzy liked the camera. He thought he was the only really prime time one among us. So they had Bishop and me and Mac Jones and Fuzzy on the radio, on the television. And so we went around and introduced ourselves, and then Chuck Moore said to Mac Jones, he was the newest in town, says, Reverend Jones, how do you like Kansas City, blah, blah, blah. Well, Mac talked for the whole program. He talked for the whole program. And when all of a sudden it was time to wind up, and so Bishop said, well, it's been nice being here. And I said, it's been nice being here. And Fuzzy said, yeah, it's been nice being here. And when we left, Fuzzy said, I'll never be on the program with Mac again. Mac could talk, but Fuzzy loved that camera.
Yeah.
He loved that camera.
Yeah, he loved the camera. He liked good life.
He did.
He liked good life.
He was real funny.
Loved kids.
Humorous as he could be. It was just. I remember one time in Nicaragua. He and I went to Nicaragua together.
Right.
And we were down there, and we roomed together. Fuzzy and I roomed together, and the Sandinistas were in charge, and the Sandinistas had guns, and fatigues on and everything. We were sleeping in a hotel together, and about 3 o'clock in the morning, man, I heard this. Fuzzy was laughing. He was laughing hard as he could laugh, man. And I woke up and I said, "What, Fuzzy? Wake up! Wait, what are you laughing about?" Well, they used to have the holiday friends.
Right.
Holiday friends, and Fuzzy was always bringing folks in that wasn't invited. Invited to the thing. Well, he said, I invited the Sandinistas to the holiday party. He said, Herman and them was mad at me, man. Don't tell me. And the Sandinistas was all around with their guns and their fatigues on. And I told Cheryl, I said, Cheryl, Fuzzy laughed in his sleep. Cheryl said, he sure does. She said, he sure does. He invited the Sandinistas to the holiday party.
Yeah. But the movement in the city of change and caring about change and helping people move forward.
Yeah.
He had a good quality of doing that. What do you think about that, Bishop?
Well, he recognized where there were difficulties and troubles, and we had limitations, but where there was something that really needed to be addressed, you can believe Fuzzy was on the main line. He was going to address it.
Mm-hmm.
He was going to address it. And we had a lot of problems. You had problems in construction hiring. You had problems in minority participation, or in government. You had problems with the school board, and I remember one of the problems we had, and he never got over it, is that we had a problem with the school board, and we had a news conference, and Bob Stevens showed up on a news conference, and Bob Stevens was the chair of the education committee over at SCLC, and so he hadn't checked with Fuzzy about anything, so he just got up and said, "We're calling for the resignation of Julia Hill."
That was Bob's last press conference. It was over. Fuzzy fired him right there.
Right there. So Fuzzy had this humorous way, but he also had this very serious way.
Right.
Very, very serious. I mean, he was so mad he was cursing.
I was over at St. Stephen's Baptist Church. There's any room over there. I mean, he got so mad at Bob Stevens. Bob Stevens literally was out of SCLC. He wasn't.
Is that right?
That's right. He was gone. He was gone because he had not said a word to him, and that was not Fuzzy's position.
Right. The kids, he loved kids.
My Lord.
Yes.
He loved kids. He loved babies and little kids.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was that was evident by the Martin Luther King Urban Center.
That's
Yeah.
right.
All the children that was over there, and he struggled for months and years trying to keep that center open.
Right.
And he ran into all kinds of problems and difficulties. The state wanted to close the center down, state of
They
Kansas.
did.
So we had a press conference over there. Went over there early in the morning, and we protested the state closing up the center. So it was just a difficult thing. Not because Fuzzy couldn't do something else. He wanted those children to have a place to go.
Safe.
Yes, sir.
Now, at a personal level, I have 3 children that knew him, and all call him Uncle Fuzzy.
Really.
I mean, my daughter just wept for about 10 minutes. She came in the house and just broke down. Melissa, she just broke down, and my granddaughter called about. I mean, the children loved him. They loved him too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You know what? I want you guys to give me a bit a positive message about Fuzzy. We're getting ready to wrap this up. Start with you, Bishop.
Fuzzy was a leader. He was a God-fearing man. He was a pastor. He was a minister, and he was a person who wanted to lend a helping hand to those who could not help themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I remember about Reverend Nelson Fuzzy Thompson.
Okay.
I'm going to quote his favorite scripture.
Okay.
Comes out of the 4th chapter of Luke. He loved this text more than anything. See, it is after Jesus had come in from the wilderness, and it said that Jesus said, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, for he has anointed me to preach good news to the poor, to release the captive, to set at liberty those who are oppressed." That was Fuzzy. That was Fuzzy.
That's pretty serious. What chapter is that?
Luke, the 4th chapter of Luke, and he said that he said, "I am anointed." That he literally, I think he probably thought of himself as anointed to do that, anointed to do that, and the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, for he has anointed me to preach good news to the poor, release to the captive, to set at liberty those who are oppressed.
Service above self.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
That was self for him.
that's right.
Yeah.
That was self.
Yeah. That's what I
That was
believe.
self.
I believe service above self.
I think it was self.
Yeah.
That was him.
Yeah.
That was self. That was his self.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
What was you gonna say?
Fuzzy knew there couldn't be a separation between the church,
Uh-huh.
the civil rights struggle, and politics. So he was involved in all 3. And he knew that in order to advance one, he had to advance all 3. So he worked hard in all 3.
All 3.
He was a pastor, a minister. He worked in the civil rights struggle, SCLC, and was the chairman, the longest living chairman of the nominating committee that Freedom Incorporated has ever had. So he worked all 3 tirelessly.
Where do you think we're going now as far as the movement in Kansas City?
One thing about Kansas City is not a monolithic community.
That's right.
There are leaders all over the place
That work together.
and working together to make a change, make a difference. Fuzzy was sick for well over 5 years, and the struggles that we have had to endure has been carried on by people like Wallace Hartsfield, Reverend Sam Mann, Dr.
Bishop
Vernon
James
Howard.
Tyndall.
The cause, the problems that we have are still being worked out and carried on.
And it's not unusual for SCLC, the Urban League with Gwen Grant and the NAACP and Sister Anita, all of those folks, and Bishop Tyndall and Hartsfield, to work together. We know each other. We call each other. We are. It's a good. That don't mean there aren't disagreements, but
Right.
but this
Right.
town is fortunate that it's civil, as Bishop says, its civil rights leadership works together. It really does.
Well, tomorrow is a big day. We'll lay our brother to rest, And I really appreciate you guys coming by today with us.
You know, he loved you.
Yeah,
He sure did.
yeah. And I love Fuzzy.
I know I remember he loved you. He sure
Yeah.
did.
Fuzzy was, Fuzzy and my mother and my daddy, they was girlfriend, boyfriend. Marvia. Yeah. So, yeah, I love Fuzzy, and that's why it was Carlos' suggestion that we do this, and it was very fitting that we, that we promote our people.
Yeah.
And we can document them here, and we will continue to do it as long as we can because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And then our people can go to the screen, and more so our young people.
Mhm.
'Cause we got a lot of young audience, and they'll get a chance to see a guy like you and Hartsfield and some more that will come today. And the very colorful Carl Bussey. He'll be here this afternoon.
Yeah,
We'll hear him before we see him.
I didn't say it. And probably you'll have to he'll run the batteries out on the machine.
Yeah, but we got to get him here. But guys, you know what? God bless you, brothers, man.
You know,
appreciate it.
you ought to get Jennifer here.
Jennifer.
Fuzzy's caretaker.
I'll call Alex.
You ought to
And get
no,
her
I've
number.
got her number right
When we
you ought to
finish,
get her, don't you think so,
Yeah,
Bishop? You ought
she
to-
can
ought
tell
to-
you.
tell you.
and when we
Fuzzy
finish
went
this
through.
interview here, we're gonna go ahead and get them here. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it best. Two of our very own icons in Kansas City, Missouri. And it's been a plum pleasing pleasure for them to stop by and talk about a Fuzzy story. And that was real good about Luke. I like that. Say that chapter again.
Luke 4.
Luke 4.
Luke 4. It's a 1 through 4, 5.
All right then. All right then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
CMG wants you to always remember the victory we call success goes to the best prepared. When you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. Thanks.